Tonight, we are not just talking about headlines, we are talking about legacy, power, family wounds, and a monarchy standing at one of the most delicate moments in modern history. At the center of it all is Prince Harry, the royal who stepped away yet somehow never left the spotlight. And across the ocean, tension simmers. In London, pressure builds. And inside palace war, decisions are being made that could, shape the future of the crown itself. And so, what is really happening? I want us to, slow this story down, and unpack it properly and, dive straight into what is really happening. While much of the world focuses on Harry's strained relationship with the institution, another storm has intensified, and this time is surrounding Prince Andrew. Prince Andrew's legal troubles and renewed scrutiny have reopened old wounds for the monarchy. And for decades, royal crises were managed quietly behind palace gates, like behind closed doors. But in today's media ecosystem does not forget. And this moment feels different. This moment feels like it's not just scandal, it's accumulative pressure. And the monarchy has already endured, a public family split, and explosive interviews, even memos revealing private tensions, and also ongoing legal battles involving members of the royal household. And now, critics are asking questions. A lot of people are prognosing into it and asking, can the institution absorb another blow? And this, for Harry, this changes the landscape, because whenever the crown is weakened, even those outside official duties become part of the narrative. And since stepping back from royal duties, that's in 2020, Harry and his family, Harry has positioned himself as independent, like he's financially and ideologically. But here is the thing, here is the twist. Being independent does not erase lineage, and Harry remains the son of King Charles III, and that reality alone keeps him tied to every major royal development. And again, reports suggest that conversations about reconciliation have quietly surfaced, not just dramatic reunions or maybe public embraces, but quiet channels of communication. And some insiders believe that in moments of institutional vulnerability, unity becomes strategically valuable. And that leads to the question, is reconciliation about emotion or is it about stability? Now, every royal narrative involving Harry inevitably circles back to Meghan Markle. But instead of framing this as conflict, let's just examine power dynamics here. Meghan represents modern celebrity influence. She represents American media confidence and something we know as or call narrative control through independent platforms. And some recent reports suggest differenting perspective between Harry and Meghan Markle regarding a full family reunion in the UK. Not hostility, but this time it is hesitations. And that hesitations makes sense because security concerns remain unresolved, trust remains fragile, media exposure in Britain remains intense. So the bigger question here is this: if reconciliation happens now, what will it look like? Will it look like a short visit? Will it look like a public photo opportunity or a quiet off-camera meeting? In fact, the strategy matters. And because in royal optics, symbolism is everything. Like, meanwhile, the heir to the throne, Prince William, continues public duties with measured composures. And recently, he and Catherine, that is the Princess of Wales, made a very high-profile appearance at the BAFTA Awards, projecting continuity and stability. And that appearance was not accidental, it was usual reassurance. And in times of turbulence, the monarchies relies heavily on public imagery, like they rely on their elegancy, their duties, their calmness, and also the tradition. And William's approach differs from Harry's approach. Where Harry speaks openly, William remains restrained. But restraint can be a strategy also. Who knows? And some commentators believe that if reconciliation is ever to happen, it will require William's quiet approval, even if not publicly stated. But it would definitely require his approval because the future king's authority carries long term weight. And Harry's ongoing legal battles with segments of the British press reveal something deeper than headlines. They reveal a philosophical divide. you know Prince Harry has consistently argued that Invite's media practices harmed both him and his late mom, and this is not just litigations, it is personal history revisited in courtrooms, and in many ways this fight defines his post-royal identity. It defines his protector of privacy. It also defines his challenger of establishment media and also defender of family boundaries. But now, critics argue that public interviews and documentaries complicate that matter. And that tension between privacy and policy remains certain to his story. And now, I want us to look at the possibility calmness, as in how possibility a reunion would be, or what it will require for this reunion to take place. That is agreement on security arrangements, media boundaries respected, emotional willingness on both sides, and institutional readiness for optics. And there have been whispers that bringing the children to the UK could soften tensions. Children change narratives, and they introduce innocency into hardened dynamics. But such a visit will be symbolic, not necessarily a full restoration of trust. And the symbolism is powerful in monarchy. So, this is not just about one prince, this is about evolution. The British monarchy is navigating, the is navigating the generational constitution, public accountability, and digital age transparency, and then declining automatic differences. And Prince Harry represents disruptions. Prince Williams represents continuity. King Charles represents transition, and Prince Andrew represents vulnerability, and Meghan represents modern influence, colliding with centuries old tradition. And now the question is not, will the drama continue, because we know that definitely it will. But the real question is this: can the monarchy modernize without fracturing further? And can a family heal while remaining under the wealth's microscope? Only time will answer that question. But one thing is certain: the story of Prince Harry and the royal institution is no longer just a family dispute. It is a case study in power, image, legacy, and the cost of stepping away without ever truly escaping. So, guys, if you appreciate this deeper documentary style breakdown of Prince Harry and the royal family and everything, not just headlines but the analysis, let me know in the comment section, guys.